at him.
Come on. Come on.
Athletic freak is quite liberally thrown around these days, but there was a player at the 2019 NFL Draft Combine who epitomized the term with a ridiculous display of athleticism that legitimately defied his frame. Standing 6'4", 230 pounds at 1.6% body fat, DK Metcalf ran the 40-yard dash in 4.33 seconds, recorded a 40-inch vertical, and 27 reps on the bench, the best of any wide receiver present that day. Despite this remarkable showing, and being considered one of the most pro-ready prospects in his draft class, Metcalf fell to the middle of the second round. Today, we're going to look at the 8 wide receivers selected ahead of DK Metcalf in 2019, who they were as prospects, and where they are now. This video is powered by BetUS, our sponsor all season long for Touchdown Kingdom. Don't miss out on their limited time offer of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on the next 2. This is up to $2,000 and can be accessed with the code YouTube150. Let's start by understanding DK himself. Metcalf's father was an All-American lineman at Ole Miss, enjoying a 6-year stint with the Chicago Bears in the early 2000s. Growing up in Oxford, Mississippi, and given his family history at the school, when it came time for recruiting, the 4-star wide receiver DK Metcalf committed to Ole Miss. His freshman year saw him reel in 2 catches for 2 touchdowns across 2 games, before a toe injury kept him sidelined for the rest of the season. DK stayed healthy through his second year though, where he played in all 12 games for Ole Miss, grabbing 39 receptions for 646 yards and 7 touchdowns, mostly as second fiddle to AJ Brown. More on him later. DK's redshirt sophomore season was chartered to be his breakout, seeing a bigger target share in the offense with 25 receptions through the first 6 games of the season for 520 yards and 5 scores. His rise as a big play machine was all but stopped dead in its tracks when Metcalf suffered a cervical fracture in his neck blocking on a kickoff return against Arkansas. The injury would keep him out for the entire season, but far more concerning was that doctors had initially warned he might never be able to play football again. That was until he got a second opinion from a specialist in Memphis who performed surgery on DK and set him on his road to recovery. This understandably hurt his draft stock, along with some concerns around the polish on his route running, but it was difficult to ignore the athletic specimen that is DK Metcalf, especially after that showing at the Combine. Regardless, he was largely graded as a first-round caliber talent, which made his fall so deep into the second round shocking. Seattle drafted him 64th overall, and he has been a cornerstone of the franchise since. Regardless of who was throwing the ball, Metcalf has managed over 900 yards in every season since he's been in the league. He set the record for most receiving yards in a playoff game by a rookie with 160 against the Eagles, while he earned second-team All-Pro honors in 2020. He's put some absurd plays on tape, including this epic chase-down tackle on Budda Baker. But it was obviously his offensive output that saw him named to 2 Pro Bowls, firmly establishing him as a premier wide receiver. Now that we've evaluated Metcalf as both a prospect and a pro, it's time to take a look at those 8 wide receivers selected before him, how they came to be drafted, and where they are now. The first receiver picked in the 2019 NFL Draft was Marquise Hollywood Brown, who, much like Metcalf, had family in the NFL. Looking to live up to the billing of his cousin Antonio, an all-pro receiver with the Steelers, Marquise started off his college career at a JUCO in California. He transferred to Oklahoma, becoming a huge beneficiary of Lincoln Riley's air raid offense, logging back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons as he led the team both years in receiving. He even set a single-game receiving yards record for Oklahoma with 265 against OK State. Brown earned the nickname Hollywood during his time in Norman, based on his big play ability and the area of South Florida he grew up in. Back-to-back seasons of Heisman quarterback play from Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray certainly helped his numbers, but Brown's explosiveness, versatility, and frightening speed were clear as day. Widely considered among the top wide receiver prospects in the draft, despite being on the smaller side, Hollywood was selected 25th overall by the Baltimore Ravens, joining second-year quarterback Lamar Jackson in an exciting offense. Brown and his former Oklahoma teammate Mark Andrews were Lamar's favorite weapons in his 2019 MVP campaign. Hollywood led the team in targets and receptions the following season, finishing with 769 yards, 8 touchdowns, and more playoff disappointment. He would finally break the 1,000-yard mark in his third and final season with the Ravens, requesting a trade at the end of 2021 as he disliked Baltimore's offensive scheme and their lack of reliance on pass catchers. Instead, he went back into the warm, welcoming arms of a Kyler Murray-led air raid offense in Arizona. Their reunion proved to be fairly underwhelming, as the Cards posted back-to-back 4-13 records without even a sniff of the playoffs. He signed a one-year deal with the Chiefs in 2024, but is out for an extended period due to injury. It remains to be seen if Brown can summon any more Hollywood magic before his time at the elite level runs out. Let's talk about some sports betting. My go-to for that is BetUS. Once you're in, you'll easily find all the pregame markets, parlays, and prop bets that you need. You'll even get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. So let's win some money. If I want to bet on some division winners, I just click on the football tab, scroll down to the NFL divisions tab, then find the bet I like. I am going to go for Aaron Rodgers' Jets to win the AFC East. So click on the number and specify your wager. $50 sounds good. Then click place my bets, click confirm, and there you go. Pretty easy, right? Enjoy a 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with the code YouTube150. The top-ranked recruit in Arizona's class of 2016, N'Keal Harry, stayed close to home for college, shining for ASU as a 3-year starter. He led the nation's freshmen in receptions with 58, quickly becoming the Sun Devils' leading receiver with over 1,000 yards in both his sophomore and junior year. The plays this guy was putting on tape were epic, as he was physically dominant, which gave him seemingly unparalleled contested catch ability. Harry was drafted with the last pick of the first round, headed to New England to play for a franchise that seemed to be getting everything right at that particular moment in time. But 5 years on, it's safe to say that they got this pick wrong. Harry struggled to create separation in the league, unable to make those spectacular contested catches against stiffer competition. This confirmed many scouts' worst fears about what Harry would become, leading to only 57 catches for 598 yards and 4 touchdowns in his 3 years in Foxborough. Herm Edwards, his coach at ASU, recently revealed that the Patriots had always appeared to be a bad fit for Harry, as he was surrounded by friends who made him too complacent to thrive in such a demanding environment. Harry was traded to the Bears in 2022, where he barely cracked the 100-yard receiving mark before signing with the Vikings as a free agent in 2023. He's been on their practice squad ever since. Another talent who stayed in his home state to play college ball was Deebo Samuel of South Carolina, who was drafted 36th overall by the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan maximized Deebo's impact on the field as a rookie, finishing 2019 as the second leading pass catcher behind George Kittle with 962 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns, though they fell to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. An injury-ridden 2020 saw Samuel only start 5 games, but in 2021, he would leave his mark on the league with over 1,400 yards receiving, 365 yards rushing, and 14 total touchdowns. Deebo was named a first-team All-Pro receiver as a result, even scoring his first postseason receiving touchdown in an NFC Championship game loss to the Rams. 2022 saw a slight dip in performance, largely due to recurring injuries and contract drama in the offseason. Deebo looked much closer to his best in 2023 with over 1,000 total yards of offense and 12 touchdowns in yet another season punctuated by a Super Bowl loss to Kansas City. So far in 2024, he's been solid, remaining an integral part of San Francisco's offense. The star of DK Metcalf's rival high school, A.J. Brown, was the only wide receiver ranked above him in Mississippi's class of 2016. Recruited for both football and baseball, Brown was drafted by the San Diego Padres in 2016, but ultimately chose to represent Ole Miss on the gridiron instead. Brown led the SEC in receiving yards as both a sophomore and a junior, with 1,252 and 1,320 respectively, scoring 11 touchdowns as a sophomore, which was also best in the SEC. Named All-SEC in back-to-back seasons, Brown declared for the draft as one of its most exciting prospects, leaving Ole Miss as the all-time leader in receiving yards. Scouts were understandably high on him, but worried about his limited impact on big games in college. He was drafted to the Tennessee Titans 51st overall, an offense that was largely powered by Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown still emerged as the wide receiver 1, with over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, though he saw very limited use in the playoffs. He finished 3rd in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting and showed no signs of slowing down in his second season, being named to his first Pro Bowl after adding another 1,000 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns to his name. Despite spending time on IR in 2021, Brown still led the team in every receiving category, though understandably fell below 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. The Titans then traded him to the Eagles for picks during the 2022 draft. Brown soared in Philly, setting countless franchise records, including single-season receiving yards with 1,496, and put up a respectable performance in a Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs with 1 touchdown on 96 yards. In 2023, A.J. Brown continued his dominance, named to his second consecutive Pro Bowl and second team All-Pro. Another year with over 1,400 receiving yards, this time for 7 touchdowns, unfortunately ended with a knee sprain which saw him miss the postseason. Despite some injury struggles, he's looked back to his best in 2024 when healthy and is undoubtedly one of the best picks in this draft. A 5-star recruit out of high school, Mecole Hardman shone in his 3 seasons with the Georgia Bulldogs, convincing the Chiefs to draft him 56th overall. Here, he put together a strong rookie campaign en route to a Super Bowl triumph, returning a kickoff for a score while also catching 6 more. This earned him a Pro Bowl selection, and he was named second team All-Pro as a kick returner, rightfully so. The rookie was a bona fide big play threat anytime and anywhere, fully capable of injecting new life into each and every game. 2020 saw him score off a punt return, but remained more or less stagnant with regards to his impact in the passing game. Hardman's numbers on special teams took a dip, while his contribution on offense grew in 2021. He went for a career-high 693 receiving yards for 2 touchdowns. While his progression in 2022 may have stalled due to injury, Hardman did get a second Super Bowl ring when it was all said and done. The Jets signed him to a 1-year, $4 million deal in the 2023 offseason, but as their campaign fell apart, Hardman wanted out. Traded back to the Chiefs by October, Mecole Hardman found his footing again, growing into the season which culminated in him catching the game-winning touchdown of Super Bowl 58. He re-signed after his 3rd ring and is primarily being used on special teams. 1 pick later, at 57, the Eagles snatched J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, a 6'3" receiver out of Stanford who had exploded for over 1,000 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns as a junior. His physicality was imposing, but J-Jaw's weakness in blocking, his slow release, and his inability to create separation against pro corners led to a woeful 3 seasons in Philly where not even a move to tight end could save him. JJ totaled 16 receptions for 290 yards and 1 touchdown as he bounced around the Seahawks and Falcons practice squads before most recently signing with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. 2 picks later, the Colts selected Ohio State wideout Paris Campbell. Considered a far superior prospect to fellow Buckeye Terry McLaurin, his first 3 seasons in the league were marred by injury. When Campbell finally played a full season in 2022, he put up a respectable 623 yards and 3 touchdowns, second only to Michael Pittman Jr. in a tragic Colts team. Campbell spent 2023 with the Giants, where he failed to impress on a 1-year deal, landing him a spot on the Eagles practice squad for 2024. He did grab a touchdown against Tampa in the absence of A.J. Brown, looking to rediscover some form in Philly. The last wide receiver selected before DK Metcalf in 2019 was Andy Isabella out of UMass, headed to Arizona with the 62nd overall pick. Isabella led college football with his 1,698 receiving yards in 2018, earning him consensus All-American honors, though he was still graded a 3rd or 4th round caliber prospect. In his first 2 seasons in Arizona, Isabella logged 413 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns before falling down the depth chart in 2021, only to be waived by 2022. He signed with the Ravens briefly, but battled through injury just to be released in the 2023 offseason. The Bills picked him up for their practice squad, where he saw limited time and was eventually released as well. Andy Isabella now plays in the UFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks. A mere 2 picks after him in the 2019 NFL Draft, DK Metcalf was selected by the Seattle Seahawks out of Ole Miss. Metcalf falling this far in the draft is truly bewildering when you look at some of the names on this list and how their careers have panned out 5 years on. It makes the draft seem like more of a lottery than any sort of a hard science. So, if you redrafted this class, where would DK have gone? Which of these names shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you'd like to sign up for BetUS, use the promo code YouTube150.